It starts with a smile, not the spontaneous kind that slips out when life surprises you, but the one rehearsed in the front camera. Perfect lighting, perfect angle, caption, feeling blessed. Somewhere behind that post, behind the filters and affirmations, is a person trying to convince not just the world, but themselves, that they're okay. This is the quiet performance of digital happiness, and it's more common than we want to admit. The psychology behind it isn't vanity, it's survival. Humans are wired for belonging. We need to feel seen, validated, connected. But in the digital age, connection has been replaced by performance. We don't share moments anymore. We curate them, we don't express, we advertise. Every post becomes a small commercial for our lives, a way of saying, look, I'm happy. See, I'm doing great. Because maybe, if enough people believe it, we'll start believing it too. But the truth is, this constant need to appear happy often comes from deep emotional insecurity, from the fear of being perceived as broken, lonely, or unsuccessful. It's the modern mask of perfectionism. And behind that mask is usually someone who learned early that love and acceptance come only when you perform well. Maybe it started in childhood, when emotions like sadness or anger weren't safe to express. You cried once and someone said, "Stop being dramatic." You shared your fears and they laughed. So you learned a quiet lesson: only joy is allowed, only positivity brings approval. Fast forward to adulthood. You've internalized it so deeply that now even your pain must wear a smile. You post vacation photos after a breakup, selfies after a sleepless night, quotes about healing when you haven't even begun to feel. You call it staying positive, but really, it's emotional self-erasure. The internet rewards it. The likes, hearts, shares, they hit the brain like a drug. A short burst of dopamine, a fleeting sense of worth, and suddenly, happiness becomes a performance metric. The more joy you can show, the more human you appear. The more engagement you get, the more it feels like love. But this isn't connection, it's validation dressed as affection, and the difference is devastating. Validation fades, affection heals. Online happiness is fragile because it depends on visibility. It exists only when it's seen, and the moment the feed goes quiet, the anxiety creeps in. What if they forget me? What if they think I'm unhappy? What if I am unhappy? That's the paradox. The more you try to prove your happiness, the further you drift from actually feeling it. Psychologists call this self-discrepancy theory, the gap between who you are and who you present yourself to be. The wider that gap becomes, the more psychological tension builds underneath. You live in two worlds, the curated one online and the chaotic one inside. And every time they collide, you post something brighter, louder, more authentic to hide the dissonance. It's not lying, it's coping. It's an unconscious attempt to regulate emotions by externalizing control. If I can't fix what I feel, I can at least control what others see. And maybe that illusion of control will keep the darkness manageable for another day. But the mind always knows the truth. Behind every "life is good" caption, there's often a whisper, "Why do I still feel empty?" That's because emotional repression doesn't disappear. It transforms. The sadness you hide becomes numbness. The loneliness becomes scrolling. The exhaustion becomes endless productivity disguised as self-care. We live in an age of public joy and private suffering, and those who seem the happiest online are often the ones carrying the heaviest silence offline. Yet, no one talks about it. Because to admit the performance is to break it, and breaking it feels like failure. So we keep posting, smiling, pretending, hoping that one day the mask and the face will finally become one. But the mask always cracks. In the quiet moments, when no one's watching, when the phone is down and the lights are off, you can feel the truth echoing in your chest. This isn't happiness, it's survival. And that's where the real story begins. Happiness used to be something you felt. Now it's something you show. But showing happiness changes its nature. It becomes performance art, a way to manage perception rather than experience emotion. Every post, every story, every smile becomes part of a narrative you have to maintain. Because once you've convinced people you're always okay, you can't stop. Not without breaking the illusion. And breaking it feels like weakness. You start editing your emotions like you edit your photos. Cropping out pain. Color correcting disappointment, blurring the fatigue around your eyes. Because what's one more lie if it keeps the story intact? The strange thing is, you might not even realize you're doing it. At first, it feels harmless, just staying positive. But slowly, the performance becomes reflex. Every time life hurts, your instinct isn't to process it, but to package it, to turn sadness into a motivational post, to turn failure into a lesson learned, to turn loneliness into me time. And the world rewards you for it. They call you strong, inspiring, resilient. But deep down, you know, they're clapping for a character, not a person. You start to live for applause that never reaches your heart. What's happening here isn't vanity, it's a coping mechanism. When people are denied emotional validation in their real lives, they often seek it digitally. It's called compensatory validation, using external feedback to stabilize internal emptiness. Each like becomes a microdose of safety. Each comment, a momentary patch for the loneliness. The brain learns the pattern fast. Post, reward, share, approval, smile. Survive. And soon, you're not sharing because you want to. You're sharing because you need to. The dopamine cycle takes over. It's the same neurochemical loop that fuels gambling and addiction. Anticipation, hit, relief, emptiness, repeat. And with each repetition, the gap between your true feelings and your public persona grows wider. You start to fear being unseen. A quiet day online feels like punishment. A drop in engagement feels like rejection, and you wonder, did I do something wrong? Do they still care? This is when happiness stops being an emotion and becomes a currency. You spend it to buy attention, to buy safety, to buy the illusion that you matter. And that's where the burnout begins. Because you can't perform forever. You can't outpost your pain, you can't outsmile your anxiety. Sooner or later, the cracks show. You start feeling emotionally exhausted, tired of pretending, tired of being the positive one. But you don't know how to stop. The identity you built online becomes the only version of you the world recognizes, so you stay in the loop, trapped between authenticity and approval. The irony is painful. The more perfectly happy you appear, the more isolated you become. Because perfection doesn't invite empathy, it creates distance. No one reaches out to the person who has it all together. They scroll, they like, they move on, and you stay smiling, quietly starving for real connection. In psychology, this cycle is known as toxic positivity, the denial of negative emotions in the name of maintaining peace or image. But peace built on denial isn't peace, it's suppression, and suppression always leaks. You start snapping at small things, feeling restless when you're alone, losing joy in what used to make you happy. You tell yourself you're burnt out, but what's really burning is the emotional cost of being fake. Because real happiness doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't beg to be seen, it simply exists. But when you live online long enough, you start to believe that if something isn't shared, it doesn't count. If no one liked it, it wasn't real. If no one saw you smile, did you even smile at all? That's the quiet tragedy of the digital age. We've replaced living with documenting, feeling with performing, connection with attention. And in that exchange, we have lost something human, the ability to feel without proof. There comes a point when the performance starts to hurt, not because people stop watching, but because you can no longer watch yourself pretend. The smile feels heavy. The captions start sounding hollow. You post less, not out of peace, but from quiet exhaustion. You scroll, comparing your staged happiness to everyone else's, wondering if maybe they've mastered the illusion better than you. But the truth is, almost everyone is tired. Everyone's just hiding it behind filters and affirmations. We're all playing the same game, pretending we're okay, hoping someone will notice that we're not. The healing begins when you stop chasing visibility and start craving reality. The first step is awareness, realizing that the digital self you built is not a reflection of your worth. It's a projection, a carefully maintained mirage. And stepping away from it doesn't make you disappear. It brings you home. Psychologists call this self-realignment, reconnecting with your authentic emotions without outsourcing them to an audience. It's learning to feel joy privately again, to grieve without broadcasting, to laugh without needing hearts and comments to confirm it happened. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Silence does. When you've lived in constant digital noise, stillness can feel like absence, but it's actually healing. You start noticing small things again, how coffee tastes in the morning without a photo, how sunlight looks when it's not for your story, how laughter sounds when it isn't recorded. Moments that once needed proof start becoming enough on their own. That's what real happiness is. Not a highlight, not a hashtag, but a quiet state of enoughness. But letting go of the performance means confronting the wounds that built it. Why did you need to prove you were happy in the first place? Was it loneliness? A fear of irrelevance? The belief that being loved means being impressive? Somewhere in your past, you learned that visibility equals safety, that being seen meant being valued. So, you kept showing more and more until you forgot what it felt like to be unseen and still worthy. Reclaiming that sense of worth is the essence of healing. And it starts small. You stop posting every success. You stop turning pain into a performance. You let bad days stay unfiltered. You give yourself permission to be boring, to be invisible, to be real. Because authenticity isn't about sharing everything. It's about not needing to. As you practice this, something changes inside you. You start to feel your emotions in real time instead of framing them. Joy doesn't have to be exaggerated to feel valid. Sadness doesn't have to be hidden to stay loved. You stop living for the reflection and start living for the experience. This is where your nervous system begins to trust again, no longer caught between how I feel and how I should look, no longer performing calm while burning inside. You start experiencing congruence, a harmony between your internal state and your external expression. And that harmony feels like peace. Not the artificial kind you post about, but the deep, grounded kind that doesn't require proof. You realize that happiness was never something to prove. It was something to protect. It was never about being seen. It was about being. So, you put the phone down, not in rebellion, but in relief. You let life become messy again, unfiltered, uneven, honest. You let your smile come from something real, not something staged. You stop trying to prove that you're happy and start creating a life that makes you quietly so. Because the truth is this: the happiest people aren't the ones posting the most joy. They're the ones living it when no one's watching. You don't owe the internet your light. You owe it to yourself. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is go unseen and still know you're enough.